Back at it on America's Voice Live. Good to be here with you on a Monday, as we've been talking about for weeks. Inflation still a huge problem in this country, and the administration is signaling it's not going to get better anytime soon, which is weird because they told it was transitory for so long. The biggest driver of inflation is the government spending money, plus a lousy energy policy. Seems to be the only thing they're good at is spending money and wrecking American energy. But unfortunately, there's no end in sight. And fortunately, there are groups worried about it enough and trying to help the government into making a change. But I don't see that happening. With you to discuss it all, David Biddulph, co-founder of Let Us Vote for a Balanced Budget Amendment Citizens Campaign. Wouldn't that be something? Balanced budget, David. But at this point, a balanced budget would be nearly impossible, wouldn't it, with all the required payments we have to make? What are your thoughts?
A balanced budget, but we are within range of actually starting to do something about it, and that is with the state-drafted, voter-ratified fiscal responsibility inflation-fighting amendment to the United States Constitution. And it's very possible that within the next 12 months, a process will be initiated by both elected officials at the state and the national level. And there are two significant pieces of legislation and a possible lawsuit against Congress that are all going to be moving forward in the next week or two at the federal level, and they're already moving forward at the state level now. So
tell me more about this. How do you file a lawsuit against Congress? How do you do that? What is the basis? Is that legal?
Yes. We actually have former attorney generals and existing attorney generals now looking at the case. They believe it is clearly winnable. There will be battles over, whether they can get standing, but we think we've got a path to getting standing, get into federal court. And the basis is under Article 5 of the Constitution, which gives 2/3 of the states the same authority as Congress to propose amendments upon the application of 2/3 of the states, currently 4. It turns out that in 1979, 39 states had applied for a convention for proposing a balanced budget amendment or fiscal responsibility amendment, or on any subject. And Congress ignored their constitutional mandate to actually call a convention at that time. So that is the basis for the mandamus suit. The truth is, Congress has never counted these applications. They did not want to give up their monopoly over the Constitution. And that is where we're very excited to point out to the American people that the Constitution was originally approved by a vote of the people in state convention for delegates who pledged to support the ratification of the Constitution. They also approved the ratification of the 21st Amendment, repealing prohibition. We want Congress to give the people of this country the chance to go to the polls and vote yes or no for an inflation-fighting fiscal responsibility. And if they don't,
let me ask you this: I've got to know why? How could they have possibly ignored? 39 states said that they wanted a constitutional convention or a chance to readdress the document. 39 states is more than you need. Why? How could they possibly just ignore it? And why would nothing be said until today, 2022?
Well, we did not know until December 21st of this last year that the states had this many applications turned into Congress, because Congress never stored them, they never recorded them in an organized way, and they basically were going to hide the ball that the states had the authority to propose amendments, and they have done so since the beginning of our country. It's very sad to find this out, but when we looked at the actual documentation We actually ask something called the Article 5 library, and anybody can go there. You can go to the Article 5 library .org, and you can select any subject of concern for the state, such as direct election U.S. senators, or the anything else. Like the states got very concerned about apportionment, and they got concerned about the income tax. Anyway, the point is, the Congress has never counted these applications because they did not want anybody but themselves to decide about taxes and spending and deficits and inflation. They didn't want anybody but themselves to control these issues. And now that we have discovered the non-controversial evidence that these applications exist, according to the actual congressional records going back to the beginning of our country. So we are.
Yeah, but what I still find it remarkable that somehow nobody knew.
Yeah.
I mean, 1979 is not exactly the Dark Ages. I mean, it's not, David, I mean, it's not exactly, the Dark Ages. I mean, if Jimmy Carter was president, it was kind of dark. But we did have communication back then, did we not?
We had communication, but we had nobody that was actually storing these documents. And in fact, the Congressional Research Service was asked to score a bill back in 2017 on doing exactly this, organizing all of these applications into sort of a document, a library. And they said, well, they have never been stored in one place. They're stored by year. They're not stored by subject, and they're stored all over the place. But this one organization quietly went about getting copies of the congressional records going back to the time. It was about
right.
Technology. The technology.
Well, I guess we're going to need to see what happens here, because I'm interested in how this plays out. We've talked about this a bit in the past. To me, it's still hard to believe that somehow nobody had realized or kept track of this push. So, David, we'll stay with you, and we'll keep up to date on it, because it's an interesting story. If it can happen, it might change all sorts of things. As always, Thank you for the update.
All right, thank you.